Final NFL truth before we get to Steve Kim. The Steelers pulled off the most significant win of the weekend. The Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, you've heard me say several different things already. Baltimore Ravens were the most impressive team that I saw this week. Miami Dolphins were the worst team I've seen since I watched that West Virginia-Ohio game on Saturday, but I won't get into that. That's just me still being upset about gambling. And I've said that Josh Allen is the greatest quarterback, but the most significant game, and look, Sunday night's game was incredible. It was fun. It's a great nightcap. But the most significant thing that happened this weekend is the Pittsburgh Steelers winning a shootout. When is the last time the Pittsburgh Steelers won an actual shootout? I'm talking about a Mike Tomlin team that gets in a game where they're throwing haymakers back and forth, and it's both teams are scoring 30 points, and it comes down to the last second, and your quarterback's got to make a play, and your quarterback's got to lead a game-winning drive. When's the last time the Pittsburgh Steelers won one of those type football games? I went and looked it up. I did this homework myself. I didn't even ask Hadley to do it. I did it myself. 2017. The Pittsburgh Steelers in 2017, December 10th, beat the Baltimore Ravens 39-38. Joe Flacco was the quarterback. Ben Roethlisberger was the quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Ben threw for 506 yards. Been that long since the Steelers won a game where both teams scored 30-plus points. This game was different and important. It signals something about the Aaron Rodgers, Mike Tomlin combination. There was no game that I thought was more important than this game. This says something about the Pittsburgh Steelers and what they can accomplish as long as Aaron Rodgers is healthy. They can get into a knockdown, drag-out war with Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. They can get in a knockdown, drag-out war with Patrick Mahomes. They can get in one with Justin Herbert. They can get in one with the Buffalo Bills. And they have a quarterback that can deliver for them in the clutch. This isn't a team that's got to win with defense, and the defense will be better than what I think we saw this weekend against the Jets. I do think they'll be better. But that's come from behind shootout that they won with the Jets. The most significant thing that happened, Pittsburgh Steelers are a threat. Mike Tomlin has a 40-year-old quarterback or 41-year-old quarterback with a chip on his shoulder, something to prove, through 4 TD passes yesterday, led him on a game-winning field goal drive. Guy knocked it in. Boswell knocked it in from 60 yards. It was incredible. It was significant. The number one thing I'll leave this weekend thinking about, Mike Tomlin, he's got a quarterback that's about that life. Pittsburgh, very interesting. I don't think this is going to be a 9-8 Pittsburgh team that backs into the playoffs. I think this is a Pittsburgh team that's very, very dangerous. I want your reaction to my assertion that the most significant game, not the best game, although it was a great game, the most significant game was the Steelers beating the Jets. Am I right? Am I wrong? What? Your reaction.
First of all, good Monday to everybody and yourself. And I just want to say one thing. Jason Whitlock has written off the WNBA, and now he's back with his weekly NFL 10 Thoughts column. America's healing. America's healing. But yes, to your point, Jason, that game was so riveting and compelling. Guess what I did? I got off a Red Zone. The game was actually aired out here in LA on the CBS affiliate, and I found it fascinating that Aaron Rodgers, he may not be 2013, but he's not Joe Namath with the Rams in 1976. He was quick and decisive, seemed to be having fun. He's in tune with his teammates. I was actually stunned to see Justin Fields, I think, played the best game of his NFL career. It was back and forth. I hated the last set of play calls from the Steelers at the end, but Boswell bailed them out. But Aaron Rodgers, you give him a little bit of help You give him decent receivers and some time. Jason, look at his numbers from last year. And again, numbers can lie a little bit in this era of quarterbacking. He was not terrible. May have not been ultra elite, but he was still probably among the upper half of quarterbacks. Now that he has more pieces, a better situation around him, it would not surprise me if he's among the elite quarterbacks once again in 2025.
I think it's going to be hard for him to do what he did yesterday, 4 TDs. He's playing against the Jets. He's obviously fired up. It's going to be hard for him to do that week in and week out. But I don't think he's going to be asked to do that week in and week out. And what is completely true is that when they do get into late fourth quarter games, I think he's going to make the plays. He's going to be the difference maker that Russell Wilson wasn't. Mason Rudolph didn't have the talent to be. Kenny Pickett didn't have the talent to be. Ben Roethlisberger, late in his career, didn't, struggled with that. And so I just think late in games, he won him a game yesterday. I think he'll win him 2 or 3 more like that this season and make them a 11, 12, maybe 13 win team.
Well, Jason, in general, Aaron Rodgers will be counted on to what? Score 24 to 28 points, not up into the 40s? I was actually stunned. I'm not a big guy on Justin Fields. He actually looked like a bona fide NFL starter for 1 week. The ball was coming out on time. He was getting the top of his drops. He was decisive. And he was dotting people up. And I'm like, where have you been? Where have you been all my life? And look, if he can just provide what you talked about, Jason, this is the thing about the Steelers. They've been in that vortex of mediocrity, which is sometimes the worst place to be in the National Football League. Sometimes you'd rather be a 2 or 3 win team than 8 to 10. Because 8 to 10 means you think you're good, but you're really not good enough to ever win it. And at least at 2 to 3, you realize we got to rebuild. But if he can provide just a couple of moments here and there, you're right. That becomes a 11 to 12 win football team.
I don't know. What did you think about the Jets in terms of I liked what I saw from them and Aaron Glenn, but I'm kind of caught. If I thought that was the most significant game, I got to give credit both ways. Yes, the Steelers won. They hit a 60-yard field goal, but the Jets could have easily won that game. And would I be sitting here saying, hey, I think that was significant? Do you think the Jets are some sort of a factor here? Were you impressed with the Jets?
I was impressed for week 1. Jason, I have a question. We kind of know that Aaron Rodgers, what we saw yesterday, he could probably replicate at least 12 to 13 times a year. Maybe not the 4-0 touchdown interception ratio. I need to see more out of Justin Fields. Can we get that 10 times a year? If we can, then you might have something. The Jets are going to play with a lot of energy. They have a first-year coach that's very respected, Aaron Glenn, all-time great Jet. But, more and more, Jason, as the way they handle these preseasons where there's less games, the players don't play, you get basically a week and a half, 2 weeks off in between the last preseason game to week 1. There's a lot of mirages that are created in the first 3 to 4 weeks. I think a lot of these discussions and questions have to be asked in the middle of October.
Don't miss a second of Fearless. Hit that like button and subscribe to keep up with our latest content.